All right, let's talk about syncing Propresenter and Ableton. So for the purposes of this video, basically what I'm going to show you how to do is make it so that when Propresenter fires its pre-roll video, it sends two MIDI notes out. One that puts the playhead back at the pre-roll video position in Ableton, and one that fires the play command. And the reason I do this, again, you'll notice I have the pre-roll video dropped into Ableton. Again, this video does not play on the screen. It just plays alongside of the one on the screen. And the reason I do that is as a time reference, because I really want Ableton to start automatically and I want my pre-roll video to start automatically, so we don't have to worry about when the tracks drop in. So what happens is Propresenter fires its video, and it also fires Ableton, which plays this video alongside. And then at the perfect time, because we've mapped it out in our timeline, those tracks will drop in as the video is ending. So we get to the end, it turns the click on, and the tracks count in.
1, 2, intro, 2, 3, 4.
All right, that was probably a little early, so we need to adjust the time of that video for the tracks to come in a little later. So I'm just going to grab the video, and I'm just going to pull it back, maybe about a measure. And you can see where the waveform kind of comes down here. So we can make sure that that track drops in at the perfect time. Now I just got to come to the front of the video and adjust that marker position to be back at the front of the video. And let's listen to that again. Let's see. Yeah. Oops. Here we go.
1, 2, intro, 2, 3, 4.
That's pretty good. So you can see we can plan out exactly the spacing between video and track, and it just does it automatically. It's way nicer than having, your MD have to hit that button at the perfect time. It just does it all for you, and you can plan it out beforehand. So really nice. All you got to do is just take your video file and drop it into your project. It'll create a track here. Create the marker in the front, and then have your control channel turn the click on when those tracks come in. Pretty easy to do. Now, we need to set up our MIDI routing so that Propresenter can actually get the MIDI note from one computer to the other. And to do this, it's very similar to how we set up the control channel, but Mac actually has another MIDI bus that allows us to send not MIDI data from program to program on the same computer, but MIDI data over Wi-Fi or Ethernet or over the network. So let's talk about how to set this pathway up between computers. Now, I don't have two MacBooks with me at the moment, so I'm going to show you how to do this on one computer, but we'll kind of jump back and forth, assuming that Propresenter is living on our media computer and Ableton is living on our stage computer here. So we're going to come up on both computers. I have to do this. We're going to come up to the spotlight. And we're going to type in MIDI, and we're going to the same place, that audio MIDI setup that we set up the control channel with. I need to come up to Window. I need to go to Show MIDI Studio. And here's what we used to set up the control channel, the IAC driver. And again, that's a pathway that allows MIDI data to be transferred from program to program on the same computer. We want to send MIDI data over the network to a different computer. So we're going to come up to this button here. This is our network MIDI driver. On an older Mac, if you're running anything before Mavericks, it's going to show up down here in a window, and it'll say like network or whatever. But this is where the button is if you're on Mavericks or Catalina or something like that. So this is our network window. Basically what we have to do on both computers, Media and Ableton, we need to come to My Sessions and add a session. It's going to be called Session 1. I'm just going to enable it. And then I'm going to name the computer that I'm on. So we'll call this one Ableton Mac. Here we go. And what this is the pathway that allows MIDI data to be sent over that network. Session 1 is my MIDI bus that allows it to transfer that. Down here, I'm going to want to say who may connect to me. And I want it to say anyone. That way I can really read all the computers on my network and they can all communicate to me in the way that I need. The live routings portion is pretty neat. So this allows you to send MIDI from any MIDI bus or any MIDI output out to the network here, or take MIDI from the network and send it to any MIDI bus, right? This is really handy. So this part, and you're only going to do this on one computer. All right. You're going to set the session up on both computers, but it's really important that we only do this part on one computer. I usually do it on the Ableton side. You're going to come to this and go to network session 1. So we're sending everything from network session 1 out to the network, and then from the network back into network session 1. I stress only do this on one computer, because if you do it on both, it's going to create this MIDI loop that just sits there and sends the notes back and forth. And it's going to freeze up all your programs. Okay. So only do the routing part on the Ableton side. All right. All right. So this directory portion here will show me all the devices on the network that are MIDI capable that I can connect to. So once you set your session up on both computers, the other computer will show up in this directory portion. And I'm going to show this using my iPhone right now. I have a MIDI program that's called up on my iPhone, so I can actually communicate to it. For the purposes of this video, let's just say that this iPhone is my Media Mac, right? I'm going to click on it and I'm going to hit connect. Boom. And under participants, it says, okay, we're connecting now. We're talking. We're sharing MIDI data, right? Now, this step right here, the connecting here, is the only thing that you have to do every week. Because when you shut down your computer, obviously they're not connected anymore. So the only thing you have to do every week is just come here to the directory, hit connect, and that's it. Everything else stays set up. So all the other stuff I'm going to show you, you only have to do once, which is really nice. So, but yeah, we've connected them together. They're communicating to each other. Now we just have to point our programs to the bus we just created, right? So I'm going to come to Ableton, and just like we did with the control channel, I'm going to go to Live Preferences. I'm going to go to my MIDI tab, which is the third one down here. And under Input Network Session 1, I want to make sure that Track and Remote are turned on. And under Output Network Session 1, I want to make sure that Track and Remote are also turned on. Again, Remote allows me to control functions of Ableton, and Track allows me to send like notes and stuff. So we want to make sure Track and Remote are on for the input and the output of Network Session 1. Perfect. So now Ableton sends MIDI data over the network and receives MIDI data from the network. So that's pretty good. Now we need to come to our media computer on the Propresenter side and do the same thing. So this is Pro 7, and it's the same process in Pro 6. We're going to come to Propresenter, Preferences. Now, Pro 7 comes with the communication module, this last tab, Devices. In Pro 6, this is a $100 add-on. It's the MIDI communications module. Well worth it, but if you don't have that, hey, upgrade to Pro 7. It's a better program. But we're gonna add a communication device here. So I'm gonna come to my Devices tab. I'm gonna hit Add, and I'm just gonna hit MIDI. All right, and this should look kind of familiar. Sources and destinations. Sources is, hey, where am I getting MIDI data from? And I want that to be from session 1. And again, since I'm on the same computer right now, I'm going to go ahead and enable these two IAC drivers. But you won't have to do that if you're setting this up on opposite computers. Okay, so my session 1 is here, and then I go destinations, session 1. Cool. So now Propresenter is talking on session 1. It's both receiving MIDI notes and sending MIDI notes over session 1. Then I'm going to come up to Auto Reconnect. I'm going to hit that. So that just makes it so that I don't have to hit this connect button every time I turn on Propresenter. Once I hit connect, it just stays connected. So now that we've done that, I can go ahead and get out of there. All right, awesome. So now Propresenter is communicating. It's sending MIDI data over the network to my Ableton computer. My Ableton computer is receiving those MIDI notes and feeding that data into Ableton itself. Awesome. So now we need to assign our functions. Okay, so I need to assign a note to this marker here, this pre-roll marker, and I need to that causes it to go back to the pre-roll, and I need to assign another note that goes to this play button, right? So the notes that I'm going to use, and we do this the same way we did with the control channel. Okay, so I want my pre-roll marker. I'm going to make it, let's say a D-2, which is note number 2. So I'm going to create a MIDI note in the control channel. Get rid of this window real quick. So I create a note in the control channel. I'm going to make that a D-2, which I happen to know is note number 2. This is really important. This little fader down here is your velocity. Okay. So I'm going to take this little thing, turn it blue, and you can drag it around. I'm going to drag it all the way up to 127. You can see 127 down here. Let's bring this to the middle. So this little fader, that's what the velocity is, or basically how hard that note is being played. Just make that go all the way up to 127, all right? And then I can go to my MIDI assignment mode. I can select that MIDI note, and then I can click pre-roll, because we're going to assign pre-roll, and then hit play. There we go. So now D-2 is assigned to the pre-roll marker. Now let's assign a C-2. So I'm going to turn this note into a C-2 at velocity 127. We're going to assign that to our play button. So I'm in MIDI assignment mode. I'm going to click our play button, and I'm just going to play that note. There we go. So now I got a C-2 assigned to play. Very cool. Now we can get out of MIDI assignment mode. And this is all done on our Ableton side. So I can go ahead and delete this note because that was just something I was using to assign it. Now, when we come to Propresenter, we need to make this video send out those two MIDI notes in order. Because, right, I need to first select my marker, then hit play, right? So all I got to do for that is I right-click on my pre-roll video. I hit, let's see, add action. I'm going to add a communication action, MIDI, note on. Okay, so when I click this video, I want it to send a MIDI note on channel 1. I want the note to be, let's see, the first one I need is the pre-roll marker, so that's a note number 2 at velocity 127. So now, every time I click this video, it's going to jump back to that pre-roll marker. Let's try that out. Boom, there it is. You saw that little playhead, so let's try that. I'll try it one more time. So we click the playhead here, or we'll make it go there. Let me delete that. Okay, and then when we come to here, we click our pre-roll video. Boom, it jumps back. Cool. So the way the actions work, you can see all these little icons in the top. There's like a stage display action. There's an audience look, a prop action, a bunch of stuff. They fire in order. So we need to make sure, as we did, we put the marker note first, and then we add another action for our play button. Because we don't want it to play then jump. We want it to jump then play. Make sense? So we're going to add a second MIDI note after that for the play command, which is note number 0, C-2, add intensity 127. So now, every time we fire that pre-roll video, it is going, I'm going to turn the click off real quick. It is going to jump back to my pre-roll marker and then hit play. So if I have the playhead over here, say we've got finished with practice and it's way over there, whenever Propresenter fires that pre-roll video, boom, it jumps back and hits play on Ableton. And I'll typically have this video in Ableton muted, so it won't actually be sending any audio through the system. We don't want that because Propresenter is going to be sending audio. So let me view the video window here. But you can see that my video is playing at the same time my Propresenter video is playing. Let me fire that one more time. And Propresenter is being stubborn at the moment. But basically, whenever we hit that, you can see that it starts playing. This is going to be in sync with the video on screen. And Ableton's going, and then those tracks will just jump in at the right time. Whenever that video ends, your click will turn on, your tracks will come in, and you're in your service. And you didn't have to touch it at all. What's really great about this, the next step is to go ahead and schedule your pre-roll video. So in our Propresenter, we actually have a calendar set up. In Pro 6, this is called the scheduler. In Pro 7, it's called the calendar. We have events set so that our pre-roll video fires every Sunday at 10:55 and every Sunday at 8:55. So now we're not even starting our service with a human interaction. Ableton and Propresenter just fire themselves, and we don't have to think about it. So this makes our transitions perfectly seamless. It keeps us perfectly on time every week. And the setup to do this, now that we have it set up with all the MIDI routing and all that, the only thing I have to do on a Sunday morning is just go to my audio MIDI setup, go to my MIDI studio, my network, and just connect my computers together. That's it. I'm done. And when I build in all those assignments I just did in Ableton, all I got to do is build those into my template, like I showed you last video, so that when I start a new live set, let's see, don't save. I start a new live set and boom, everything's already there. I've got my pre-roll video already loaded in. All the MIDI assignments are already done. The play command is assigned. That's assigned. So I don't really have to touch it. Everything just kind of works. And again, transitions are seamless. I'll tell you, once you really get the idea of how to utilize control of the programs, the possibilities are endless. Like, it's really, really amazing what you can do with it. So I hope that this method helps you out. I hope you're able to implement it. If you have any questions, just go ahead and leave them in the comments. If you're part of Liberty, you can shoot me a text and I can help you out with anything. This MIDI automation stuff has really made our services a lot better and a lot more simple. So I highly encourage you to try it out, to play around with it, and to use it for your church. It will help. So we'll see in the next one. Next time I'll teach you how to do pretty much the same thing with MainStage, so that you can fire these pad drones like we talked about, if that's something you're interested in. But you can really apply this MIDI control concept to any program that is MIDI controllable. You can do it with lighting software, with soundboards. You can do it with anything. Anything that speaks MIDI, you can control in this way. So I hope that opens up a really exciting world for you, and have fun. See you in the next one.